Okay, this is our daily study of Pirkei Avot, the Mishnah Ethics of the Fathers, in honor of those who have yahrzeit for both today and tonight, the 26th and 27th of Av. Benjamin Bronstein, Morris Fishman, Celia Cross, Stephen Miller, Malko Rosenberg, and Herman Shalinsky are the yahrzeits for today. And those that begin tonight are Pinchas Cheplov, Rachel Goldberg, Moses Lerner, Abraham Rosenberg, Milton Rosenblatt, Salman Sporn, Donald Trainin, Shaw Weiner, Chaya Yodler. May their memory be for a blessing. A link to the text of the Mishnah will be in the first comment below. We are in chapter 6, Mishnah 6, part 2, because we saw that we did the first half of Mishnah 6 on Friday. This 6th Mishnah is very long because it lists the 48 qualities, no less than 48 qualities that a person needs to become a Torah scholar, and it's divided into two parts, 24 each. So we saw the first set of 24 last week, and according to some versions, this is actually a separate Mishnah, but we're going to call it 6b in the format we're using from the website Sefaria. And these next 24 are set apart because they're actually phrased differently. So the Kahati points out that the first 24 are the words that are used are qualities that a person needs, external qualities. And these 24 are sort of internal, like they speak to the way a person themselves has to be, not just things that you have to do, which was last time, but a way that you have to be internally, which maybe makes it even more profound. And he also quotes the Midrash Shmuel, that the first 24 were tools for acquiring the Torah, but these next 24 are tools to be able to retain that which you required. So in some ways, these next 24 are harder in some way. All right, interesting academic dispute. What sets these two sets apart? There is a custom that some had to study one of these each day between Pesach and Shavuos, the counting of the Omer. There are 49 days from the day after Pesach, you count the Omer, 49 days, and then Shavuos is day 50. So here are 48 qualities. So you spend every day of the Omer focusing on one of these 48 qualities. And then I think on day 49, you just review it all. You review all 48 according to that beautiful custom. But you'd study each one in depth, each day of the Omer, dedicated to one of these. All right, so here we are, the next 24. So what are they? The Torah is acquired by someone who has the following things. So first in Hebrew, Hamakir es mekomo, v'asamech b'chalko, v'osa siyag l'dvarav, ve'eno machzik tova la'atzmo, ahuv, oheves hamakom, oheves habrios, oheves hatzedakos, oheves hatokachos, oheves hamesharim, misrachek min hakavod, v'lo megis libo b'salmudo, ve'eno samech behora, nose ba'olim chavero, machrio l'chafsachus, mamido ala emes, mamido ala shalom, misyashiv libo b'salmudo. Shalom Meshiv, Shomeo Mosif, Lomed Almanas Lamed, Lomed Almanas Lasos, Amachimas Rabo, Amachabenas Shmoso, Omer Dover B'Shem Omro. Halamarta, Shekol HaOmer Dover B'Shem Omro, Mevi Geula La'olam, Shenemar Vatomer Esther Lamelech B'Shem Mordechai. Okay, and now in English. The Torah, and we'll have a running commentary. The Torah is acquired by one who recognizes his place. So you have to know where you are in the world of Torah scholarship. You can't be so arrogant as to, let's say, propose some earth-shattering change in Jewish law if you're just an average scholar and you're not one of the sort of leading Torah scholars in the world. You have to recognize your place in the world of scholarship. Who rejoices in his portion. You're happy with what you have. You're happy with the level of Torah knowledge you have. You're not jealous of someone who has more. And I always point out that it says elsewhere in Pirkei Avot that who is happy? He who is happy in his own portion. So these are universally true, and they're particularly true for becoming a Torah scholar, but they're universally true for just the kind of person you should be in general. And some of them have specifically been mentioned before already previously in Pirkei Avot as general life advice. Okay, who makes offense about his words? That means you're careful with your words. You choose your words deliberately. Who claims no merit for himself. You're a scholar, but you don't ask for special treatment or to be bumped up in the line at the restaurant or without a reservation or something like that. You know who I am. You don't claim no special merit for yourself. You are beloved. That's a good proof that you're putting your Torah into action, is that you're admired by other people. Who loves God? You yourself have to have a love of God, and you have to be a loving person in general. And love what you do, the Torah that you do. Who loves mankind? You have to love other people. Who loves justice? So that's interesting. Rashi apparently deletes this line, who loves justice, because there's supposed to be 28 things in this list, and that would make it 29, interestingly enough. I would say, the Mishnah often says the following four things, and then there are five things. It happens all the time. It could be academically that some things were added later to the list, to a pre-existing list, or that you have to combine certain things. Rashi says you delete this one. That would be a shame to delete loving justice. Why isn't that important? Or you could just combine it with loving mankind. That's one clause. You love mankind and therefore you love justice. It's like the same thing. That's what I'm partial to explaining it that way. And it's an important lesson there, right? Loving mankind is equivalent to loving justice. Okay, moving on. Who loves reproof? That means you love criticism. Constructive criticism, you don't take it too personally. You use it to become better. You have to love criticism. Who loves rectitude? That means acting in an upright, proper way, acting in a straight way. Who shuns honor? Right, you run away from honor. You don't want people. You don't seek out honor. Who does not boast of his learning? Right, so you're humble. You don't show off about your scholarship. Who does not delight in rendering decisions? You're a rabbi. People come to you for Jewish legal decisions, but you don't love that or seek out the limelight. You do it reluctantly. There's an old joke that a rabbi is someone who says, "I have an answer. Ask me a question." Rabbis have an insatiable desire to give the answers to life, even if nobody's asking them. That's a critique. You should run away from that sort of limelight. People come to you for decisions, but you didn't ask to be in that role. Okay, who shares in the burden of his colleague? So you have a Torah scholar, a rabbi colleague who's in trouble, and you don't see it as an opportunity to get a step ahead of him. You actually want to help him out. He tips his friend's scale to the side of merit. That means you judge your friend favorably. It's another thing we've seen previously in Pirkei Avot as general life advice. Who establishes him in the truth. It means you see your friend veering off the path of truth and you set him right. That's actually a favor. Who establishes him in peace. You have a colleague who has a dispute with you and you reach out and you try to make peace. You don't make it personal. Whose mind is settled in his study, right? You can't be restless. You have to be settled. Who asks and answers. So you have your own teachers and you ask and answer important questions. Harkens and adds. So that's not only do you ask and answer, but you have insights to add. Who learns in order to teach. That's also been throughout Pirkei Avot already, that Jews are not just, we don't study for academic, cerebral purposes. We want to spread Torah to others too. Who learns in order to practice. That also, Torah is meant to be to better the world, not just to be abstract. So you have to learn in order to practice. Who enlightens his teacher, right? You teach your teacher things. Who notes with precision his lesson. So, right, you're not just absorbing things like a photographic sponge, which we also saw previously in Pirkei Avot is not necessarily great. You remember things with a particular precision in a systematic way. Conveys a thing in the name of its author. This is the final one, number 48. 24 out of this list and 48 of the overall list, that you cite your source. And it's interesting, it ends with this, don't plagiarize. If you're quoting another rabbi, don't try to pass it off as your own sermon. And I try to be careful about this. If I heard something great, let's say from Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who I like to borrow from, or any of the other great orators, it's important to quote who you are quoting. And nowadays, this is, if you don't do that, it's called plagiarism. But this is the only one that has a proof text. It quotes from the book of Esther, maybe because it's the last one, and maybe because it has legal implications too, right? Like plagiarism. So it says, "Thus you learn that whoever conveys a teaching in the name of its author brings deliverance to the world, as it is written in Esther, and Esther told the king thereof in the name of Mordecai." So Esther said that there's a plot against the king. These two guys, Bigsan and Seresh, were planning to assassinate Ahasuerus, and Mordecai is the one who overheard it. And Esther didn't take the credit for herself. She said it in the name of Mordecai. And the book of Esther makes a point of saying that Esther said it in the name of Mordecai to teach you that deliverance comes to the world when you quote something in the name of he who said it. A beautiful idea, because deliverance for the Jewish people came as a result of what that set in motion, that Ahasuerus said, "Who is this guy? Okay, let me honor him." And he found out he's a Jew, and that Haman wanted to kill the Jews. One thing led to another. So deliverance comes when you when you cite your source. So it's nice. It doesn't cite it in the negative sense that don't plagiarize. It actually says you bring redemption to the world by giving honor to someone who you cite. There's another beautiful teaching of the rabbis that when you cite a scholar who's no longer alive, his lips move in the grave, which is a way of saying like you're keeping that person's memory alive, in a metaphorical sense. Okay, and that their soul is happy because of it. Okay, we'll say the El Maleh. El Malay Rachamim Shochein Bamiro Mim Hamatzei Menucha Nechon Al Kanfei Hashechina B'Malos Kedoshim B'Toharim Kazor Harakia Mazhirim Es Nishmos Kolas Karos Shel Hayom Shel Halayla Shel Chuli Olamam Ba'avur Shem Yispalim Bad Haskaras Nishmasam Began Eden Tei Menuchasam Lachein Balarachamim Yastireim B'Seiser Knafav Liolamim Yitzur B'Tzor Chaim Es Nishmasam Adonai Nachlasam Yanuchu B'Shalom Mishkosam and Omar Amen. And in English, O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest in the wings of the divine presence in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine like the glow of the firmament. For the souls of Benjamin Bronstein, Morris Fishman, Celia Cross, Stephen Miller, Malka Rosenberg, and Herman Shalinsky, whose yard sites are today, and Pinchas Cheplov, Rachel Goldberg, Moses Lerner, Abraham Rosenberg, Milton Rosenblatt, Salman Sporn, Donald Trainin, Shaw Weiner, and Chaya Yodler, whose yard sites are tonight, in whose memory we study and pray. May their resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the Master of Mercy shelter them in the shelter of his wings for eternity. May he bind their soul in the bond of life. Hashem is their heritage. May they rest in peace. And let us say Amen.